Very cozy. I think I have a microphone. That's a recording microphone.
Yeah, that's a recording.
Huh? Is this for the school? I assume that's all right with people. If not, well, fine. Hi. Good evening. We're going to wait a little while and start. College being what it is, people come late. Not that any of you are in college. Some of you maybe. But before we start, I'm interested in why you came. This evening is divided up into two unequal portions. For several hours, maybe till 9 o'clock, we'll look into healthcare, health. I'm going to assume that's why you came at this time. And from about 9 until morning, we are going to look deeply into human relationships, our own. Friendship, I think, is the most important thing in the world, and I think most people, in my polling them, agree. And yet we don't do very well at it. We give puny visions that you're lucky to have one or two. In 75 years of life, in a world of 5.5 billion people, that's a pretty small vision. So, since it is the most important thing in life, and as a family doctor, the most tragic illness I see is loneliness, I insist when I come to colleges now, give me a lecture, fine, but I want to go all night with students and anybody else interested on the subject of friendship and relationships, sex. So that's how this evening is going to shape up. I hope that's roughly covering some of why you came. Can you tell me in this first couple of hours why you came around the issue of health care? Oh, sorry about that. You just came because you wanted to be with me, and I feel that that's very sweet. Stick around. We're going to get very intimate tonight. Extremely intimate. Or it'll chase you away. But for these first couple of hours, I was going to talk about health care. Is that of interest to you, people that are here? Now, it's a big field, and I'm very involved in many aspects of that big field. So if I know what part you're most interested in, we'll at least try to cover that part. Most all of this will be dialogue. Maybe, for the people that don't know me, I will give maybe a 15 or 20-minute introduction about myself and our medical work. And then we will charge into what you're interested in. But if I know ahead of time, I can be thinking about it. Yes?
I'm interested in...
And please project your voice here. It's a lousy acoustics, and everybody wants to hear what you say.
I'm interested in healing from mind to mind using dreams and nature.
All right. Great. Maybe I will use that if I can. Is there another reason that people came here? Yes, ma'am.
I do clowning, and I heard about you this morning from the nursing home that my mother's at, and I do clowning with all different ages, but particularly interested in nursing homes.
Fabulous. We are actually going to go clowning in 2 nursing homes tomorrow. You might stick around and find out about that. I don't know which 2. I'm not from Worcester. But I was told to. And that'll be in the mid-afternoon for a couple of hours. Yes, did you have something?
Right, I'm interested in all of this emphasis of healthcare today outside of traditional, and also the emphasis on laughter and healing.
Great, great. I assume no one over here heard that. Okay, since we are a group and a community, this is going to be interesting because this is where we're supposed to do this thing tonight, where it's going to be really important for all of us here, which of course means that we'll all have to be in a pile together on the floor. just to anticipate the greatness of where we're going this evening. Because, again, if I'm just here to do the speaking and no one else, it doesn't enrich me. And that everybody here is important to me. So, again, try to speak up.
I wish to enhance memory.
Wish to enhance memory.
Yes.
Good. Good. I have opinions on everything, so you can come here with any questions or thoughts or hopes that you want. Yes.
I'm here for two reasons. I read Gesundheit a few years ago when I was starting internship, and I just want to find out how things are going in the clinic.
Great.
And the second thing is I'm on a leave of absence because I'm getting a little disillusioned, and hopefully this will help. I'm going to take like the next 6 months off.
I hope to kick your butt.
I hope.
And if I don't, you stick around, and I want to know how I can do it. Yes. Healing through physical energy. Great. I would suggest stay all night. You will see it actually happen. It actually is happening all the time. Just that you don't pay attention to it or know the signs. Anything else? You're very easy. You're not asking much of me. Can you hear? Am I speaking at a tone of voice where you in the back row can hear? All right, I'm not a real handheld mic person. I'm hyperactive, so most of the time the mic is away. I will try to be good. We're going to wait again a few more minutes because I know some people are going to arrive, and since I'm really going to speak for 20 minutes, about our work, I want to have people have a chance to hear that. So why don't, just for fun, we'll go right to the dialogue. What would you like to talk about between now and then? Is there something burning, somebody that's got to leave in an hour and they want to be sure something they want is covered? All right. This is my third time at Clark University. I am thrilled to be here. Last year I did something that I started doing at University of Illinois, which is staying up all night, 9 to 9. At Illinois I do it 5 nights in a row. Individual consultations all day long and all night long with people. We need that much work, as far as I'm concerned, to get connected to people and to learn the skills of intimacy. Yes? Yes, that's what the 20 minutes. You're going to hear my relationship to medicine to give you a sense of the breadth of what we can talk about. And then it'll include that, and it'll include what it is that we do, and then from there, hopefully you'll explore that part that interests you. And I will hope that each person is interested in the other person's interest. Why don't I start? Okay? I am Patch Adams. I am a medical doctor. I graduated from medical school, Medical College of Virginia, 25 years ago. So including medical school, I've been in medicine almost 30 years. I entered medical school to use medicine as a vehicle for social change. I am really a social change artist. Medicine is one of the vehicles that I use for social change. I could say in medical terms, I am a physician whose patient is our society. And I find it in the intensive care unit, and without too many tools to do something about it. And so I felt as if I had to forge my own way to do it, because I didn't want to end up like you. I quit after my internship because I could not take the context currently done in medicine. So I entered medical school in '67. Being a nerd, I didn't find it that hard, so I had a lot of time to study healthcare delivery. And in my senior year, in March of my senior year, 25 years ago next month, I wrote a paper describing medical work that we've done ever since. And I'm going to very briefly describe it. You will have to ask for the detail. Upon graduation, 20 adults and our children moved into a large single-family dwelling to become a communal hospital. The point of this hospital, as I said, was to address all the problems of care delivery. So, one of the problems is the cost of care, and we have never charged money. As a matter of fact, politically, what we wanted to do was recreate community. That is our sense of the disease of our society is a loss of community, is one of the illnesses. And so, not only did we want to be free, it wasn't that we wanted to be free for poor people. We wanted to eliminate the idea that a person ever owed anything in the healing interaction. That if we're ever to recreate community and have a society, it will be because we know that our society will care for us. Not because we paid into something, but because we live there. Which is at least the commitment most people make to their family or to their spouse. That at least you will be there for them. But my sense of community is that we all have that feeling for all of us. And that's why we didn't accept barter. And even from very wealthy people who were our patients, we did not let them pay anything either. Tied in with the cost of care is the third-party reimbursement system, Medicaid, Medicare, Blue Cross. It is an evil system. There's not an insurance company in this country that cares about people. I could give you references that would horrify you for what actually goes on in this world of insurance. And that's why from our very beginning we've never had anything to do with health insurance. I've never seen in 25 years as a doctor what an insurance form looks like. I don't know if it's 1 page, 10 pages, and I will never know. If universal coverage is passed, we in our hospital will have nothing to do with it. It is an elitist, evil system, and we can go into detail to any of these things at the end of this brief introduction. The issue of malpractice, again, is another horror. When you carry malpractice insurance, you're telling your patients, I am afraid of you, I don't trust you, so you live your entire professional career in fear and mistrust. That is horrible in any context, but in the medical context, it is a nightmare, what it has done to the practice of medicine. And so from our very beginning, we've never carried malpractice insurance. We have no waivers. We are the politics of vulnerability. We want to lead our society and to live or die on that basis. The fourth issue we want to address had to do with the dehumanization of care. It is a great problem that we hear about from the patient side, but we also are very keenly aware of just how bad this dehumanization of care is for the caregiver. There's not a happy hospital in the world, to my knowledge, and I travel all over the world looking. I certainly know there's not one in this country. Healing work should be an enriching, invigorating experience, and instead it is a draining, burnout horror. It must change. We have a physician here in training who is facing that and may not even stay in medicine because of it. And it is a story that is not a rare story. It is the rule, not the rare story. So where are we most human? I believe we're most human in our friendships, and so our ideal patient became a deep, intimate friend with us for life. We knew in that kind of intimacy that great medicine could happen, particularly at a deathbed or intractable pain, chronic unsolved problems, indeed the celebrations of life. Where do we do friendship? We do it in our home. So these 20 adults moved into a large home and said we were a hospital. Audacious by American standards, and it's used to glitter in hospitals, but if you've been to third world hospitals as I have, we look pretty good. We were open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We were fully operational for 12 years. In that time, we had 500 to 1,000 people in our home a month with 5 to 50 overnight guests a night. So if you can just picture that large single-family dwelling with 20 adults and their children living there and 5 to 50 overnight guests a night, you can imagine that we got very familiar with human interaction. Since most of those people were suffering or troubled, 3,000 of the 15,000 people that came to our home had prior mental health histories, and we never gave a psychiatric medication. So I think you can assume that there were some interesting interactions going on in most cases, and there were very interesting. We let anyone in our home. We were the physicians for the largest motorcycle gang in America, physicians for a lot of the very troubled parts of our society, and physicians for, I would say, most all of the parts of our society. When I trained as a family doctor, I knew that I could not stand a 7.8-minute HMO visit. I spit on that medical visit as having anything to do with human life and medicine. And so what I did is I said, How can I be a person's family doctor? What does that mean to me? How will I feel rich at the end of the experience? And so I insisted that I have a 3 or 4 hour initial interview with the patient. An extremely intense 3 or 4 hours, because if they're not intensely telling me about themselves, I am extremely intensely finding out. Not only to have that time with them, but to go to their home. When I make a house call, I go in every room, open every drawer, every closet. I want to know every single thing in your house and what its relationship to you is. I want to know the people, the plants, the pets in your home, and I want to watch you interact with them. I also want you to come and stay in my home so that we can travel this family journey together and try to understand what it is. In spending this much time with patients, with great regret but with no surprise, I found out that the vast majority of our adult population, in my estimation 95% or better, are unfulfilled with their life. They're bored, lonely, and afraid, and that it's extremely rare for an adult to go, "Life, baby, come on!" as an average moment. But you wake up with a vitality of life, and you're sorry to go to bed at night. But that I'm calling baseline health. Health is not the absence of disease. I spit on that definition, the one given to me in medical school. Health is a happy, vibrant, exuberant life that allows for the person dying of cancer this week to be healthy. It does not mean you have to be 20 and look beautiful and have all your parts to be healthy. It means that your relationship to yourself and your life is healthy. And since I had no training in this, I didn't even have lectures on diet and exercise, much less lectures on love and faith and humor and wonder and curiosity and passion and hope and creativity, nature, relaxation, etc. So we had to explore this on our own. There's no pill for vitality of life. There is the discovery that life is with you. And that's why from our very beginning we fully integrated medicine with performing arts, arts and crafts, agriculture, nature, education, recreation, social service as the fundamental core of what medicine is about. And that this stuff called surgery and pharmacy are important, but they're additions to this real, true meaning of what health and healing is about. So we had a farm, school, we produced a number of plays, movies, we lived a very vital life ourselves. Some of you, or maybe most of you know because it's in the publicity, I've been a professional clown for over 30 years. I like to say that it took about as long for me to learn clowning as it did for me to learn medicine. There were different things I had to overcome and learn in each of them. This humor is a very important part of our work. It is the glue of the community, a major glue, fun, the love of life. I believe that we have been the first silly hospital and that we're now building the first formal silly hospital ever. Humor is extremely important in my personal life, and I think that it saved my life, health-wise, but it also gives me that day-to-day thrill and joy. Our first 9 years, we didn't lose a single staff person. They never made any money. They worked outside jobs to pay to work to be doctors, so they paid to be doctors, and they never had anything resembling privacy. Now that would just about empty any employment office. Sorry, you won't make any money. In fact, you'll have to pay to work there, and you'll never have any privacy. We didn't lose any staff people because we were funny. We as if Monty Python married medicine. We were that marriage. Another thing that we were very involved in, and the title actually of this evening, although everything that I'm talking about is alternative, you understand, everything that I'm mentioning, it is alternative to address the issue of community in a medical context. But from our very beginning, as a family doctor, the interesting thing about a family doctor is that no matter how many times the patient comes to you, you're still their doctor. No matter how many specialists you send them to, no matter how many people do or don't do something good or bad for them, it comes back that they're your patient. You're on that, as a family doctor, on that journey with them. And what I found out is that my tools, however great they were, and I did learn great things in medical school, but particularly for chronic illnesses, they to not solve. That's why they're called chronic illnesses. They're still there. And so from our very beginning, we let all of the complementary kinds of medicine, even though it was against the law for us to do it at that time, come into our home as long as they didn't charge money and let us watch. So we have been intimately involved for 25 years with acupuncture and homeopathy and naturopathy and chiropractic and faith healing and ugga bugga. There is some weird stuff out there that people are doing to each other and making them feel good. It's fascinating for anyone curious about the human community. After 12 years of being pretty much 100% unsuccessful in raising funds to build a hospital, and I can say that knowing that we are the only model and have been the only model in America for 25 years addressing the problems of care delivery. Just to give you an example of the frustration of fundraising, we've only applied to foundations who have made the commitment to help healthcare delivery move forward, and we are 0 for 1,400 in foundation grants, even though we are the only model addressing those issues in a comprehensive model. If you're not good in math, I will tell you 0 for 1,400 means 0% successful. We have never gotten money from the government or from corporations, even though they all scream to address healthcare delivery issues. But we often know that screaming about issues does not mean actively doing something about them. We just love to scream. It's interesting to me that every single time in every major newspaper when a huge article comes out about the problems of care delivery, often 100, 200-inch articles, I always write the author and say, why don't you contrast that with a very positive picture of healthcare delivery? Never, ever in 25 years. I just, for the umpteenth time, was turned down by the Bible of American Medicine, New England Journal of Medicine, and I wrote about the joy of the practice of medicine and about a vision for care delivery in a very straight piece. It was not literature. It was a doctor's essay, which is what they have a format for, and they wrote me a letter saying our readers would not be interested. Even though for 25 years, and I can give them hundreds of their own references, they talk about the problems. They say that America is not interested in our project. It astounds me that that's the case. So after 12 years and 15,000 people, being a political act, you understand, we are not an act necessarily to help sick people. We are a political act to change systems. We want to change the way care is given. And it was cute how we were doing care, but it did not change systems. And so, what that meant for me is that we, after 12 years of refusing publicity, we had to go public and to seek help from people. It is an abhorrence to me to go public. I do not like, I was the dictator about no publicity, and yet now I have sought the lowest forms of the low these last 13 years. But we want our hospital and seek it through going to you to try to get it. And we have done the shallowest forms, the Oprahs and the Donahues and the People magazines and the Time magazines, and we've done a lot more, a lot less shallow publications. But still, in our 13 years, even though there's 60 to 80 publications a year that write about us, never once has any article looked at our ideas and said something about them. It's amazing to me. We talk a line, we don't do it. But we have sought publicity. The very first moment of day of publicity, somebody drove over and gave us a $5,000 check. And publicity has been the single most powerful tool to raise money. The shallower, the better. We have decided to make that step. So the last 13 years, I've traveled the world trying to stimulate people towards social change, towards service-oriented medicine, joyful, celebrating medicine. I also perform and lecture on issues around humor, comedy. I have some theater shows around wellness, do workshops on joy, on passion and light, on creativity, and these sorts of things. And in this traveling last year, I went about 230,000 miles and was gone from home over 200 days to to try to, again, both raise money for our hospital and stimulate interest and connect up. Where the first 12 years we learned how to deal with patients in our unusual context, the last 13 years, because I'm a keynote speaker at all of these conferences, I've met most of the people you could name in medicine doing at least things in holistic or complementary or service-oriented medicine have become my friends, which is a great asset for when our hospital opens. So we have not been wasting our time. I've also spoken at 2/3 of the medical schools, many of them many times. I've spoken at most all of the chiropractic schools, all of the naturopathic schools, many of the acupuncture schools, and again, not only in this country, but in other countries as well. One of our little sidelines is every year I take 30 clowns, this will be my 12th year, to Russia. We spend 2 weeks there. We clown every day for 14 days. I work each 10 to 16 hours a day without respite. We go to hospitals, orphanages, prisons, nursing homes, and on the street, in hotels, airports. It is a fabulous journey, and if any of you are interested, come. We've had people from ages 12 to 80. We've had all manner of profession. We require no experience. As a matter of fact, 80% of the people have no experience. I just say bring a costume and get ready. Because of that, 2 years ago, we stopped just entertaining the orphans in the orphanage. We started to have them come and stay with us for our trip, and we found very tragically that their lives are constantly fraught with beatings, underfed, undereducated. They are considered outcasts in their own country, very unlike this one. To give you an idea of quantity, there are 78 orphanages in St. Petersburg alone. And the orphan directors of these orphanages, it's pretty common knowledge, from the ages of 13 to 15, start selling these orphan children, men and women, to businessmen for sex. And so because of our outrage over that, we are now creating orphanages there ourselves. Where we stand now is that a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I had a book come out that really helped us a tremendous amount. This book has helped people sit with our philosophy, because I think initially if you hear it, it sounds very Pollyanna, free medicine, no malpractice, no third party, live with your patients, etc. And so I think people have had a chance to sit with what the philosophy behind what we're doing is, and this has helped us a lot. A lot more people have come forward, a lot more conservative parts of the medical establishment have come forward and asked us to get involved. And it's a very exciting thing to stand up in front of an annual state meeting of CEOs of hospitals and to say these same things. I do not temper my discussion for them. And to say that they must get out of the business of medicine if they ever want to find joy in that profession again. So I think that's all I will say. If you don't dialogue with me, I recite poetry. I've got enough poetry to where even a poetry buff would probably leave before I was finished. So I want to dialogue with you. Let me reiterate for the people who've come since I originally started. This portion, the health portion, is going to go till about 9 o'clock, and then we are going to pile here on the floor and go until you can't take it anymore, about whatever comes up. But we'd like to start the idea after 9 o'clock of looking at our relationships, not philosophically, but really who we are, and what is our relationship to other people, friendship, and to explore our hope and potential in that area. So, if I can find my water, let's go. Can you hear? Is this all right? Can we hear each other? Good. Yes.
I'm not clear. There are 20 families. Are you the only physician, and are you referring to the home, the hospital as the same?
Oh, you know, I'm glad that you brought that up. I really didn't tell you where we are right now. We, in that original core of 20 people, 3 of us were physicians. Now, we're in the process. We have 310 acres in Pocahontas County, West Virginia. That's right. People wanted an update. We have 310 acres in the poorest state, health-wise, in America, the only state where Blue Cross and Blue Shield have failed. We have a beautiful piece of land, 3 waterfalls, caves behind the waterfalls, 4-acre lake, a mountain of hardwood trees, 25 acres of rich bottomland that's had no chemicals in it for over 15 years. We got this piece of land for $65,000, which is West Virginia. We're building a 40-bed hospital there, 40 beds for patients. This is a rural community hospital, 40 beds for staff and beds for their families, and beds for 30 to 40 guests. The guests could be any of you. If we were open now and you said, I want to come work in your hospital, regardless of what training you've had, we would let you come there and help us. It has been how we have survived all of our life, is through generosity. And to give you an idea that I'm not just the only crazy doctor to do this, every year several thousand doctors and nurses already in practice apply to work full-time for free in our hospital, to live in this hospital and give for free. I only need 20. So when our hospital is open, a year before it opens, we will probably choose from about 800 the 20 we want. We do not choose them. We used to choose them. But when you project, we're 25 years old, and people aren't used to waiting. So we put a huge amount of effort and energy into somebody that wanted to be a doctor, and for 5 or 6 years nurture them. They would get frustrated, we didn't move on it, so they would leave. And so these were painful divorces for us. So now we just say, if you're interested, stay interested. But we're not going to choose until a year before we know we're opening. The hospital will be the first interdisciplinary hospital in this country, mixing all of straight medicine, surgery, OBGYN, pediatrics, internal medicine, family practice, psychiatry, and complementary medicine, acupuncture, homeopathy, naturopathy, chiropractic, etc. We will have a fully operating farm. We are very concerned about the future of agriculture and humans' interaction with our environment. So we've had for several years a very large permaculture project on our land, and we want people to learn. We are really a university. We're using your disease as a gimmick to get you in an environment to where you're actually at a university for learning. To learn sustainable agriculture, to learn human relations, friendship 101, to learn about caring for yourself and caring for others, to network in the world, because I'm connected all over the world with projects of almost any variety, if you want to go out there and feed and serve in some way. We will also have a school. We cannot attract health professionals to rural West Virginia unless we provide schools for their children. And so we've had schools in the past. We will have a school for our children, children that are sick and children of sick parents, and some of the other children from the local community, because we're also concerned about where education is and where the love and cherishment of what education could be is. And so we want to be also a place where one can look and be a laboratory for that as well. Our hospital will be, as I said, the first silly hospital. It will look funny. You will look at this hospital and laugh. We have had 25 years to work on this design, and it's worked on more and more. And it makes me laugh. I am sure that if you drive up and say, "This is a hospital?" ? Exclamation point. Our hospital will have secret passageways with slides, interconnecting tree houses. It will have a costume closet larger than the surgery. It will have a fully modern stage, 30,000 square feet devoted to the arts, ceramic pavilions, metalwork pavilions, photography studios, fine art studios, fine woodworking studios. As I said, a fully modern stage. Not as cute little things that we hope somebody comes along and might use them. We, the staff at least, will use all of them, and hope that the people that come there will be interested in using them as well. We will set 40 acres aside for a village, and in that village we will create chronic care facilities. A way to integrate. We will not stuff our elders all in one building and separate them from our society. We will integrate and be a model for community. If you're wondering what this will cost, it sounds expensive. Our hospital will operate on less than 5% of the national average for a 40-bed hospital. We will eliminate 95% of the cost by making it a service to
in our society. The American Hospital Association says a C-section, average C-section in this country is $14,500. At our place, the same surgeon, the same room, the same equipment will cost $90. A messed up teenager who goes to Psych Institute for a month to deal with their adolescent adjustment reaction, instead of the $20,000 or $25,000 that Psych Institute will charge for that month, will cost us about $140. We are poor now. Our building fund is poor. And, but we are near. I really feel the kind of respect that we are seeing, the places that are inviting us, the kind of interest that is being shown, I somehow feel with the incredibly crumbling healthcare system that we have, and the crumbling healthcare system that exists actually around the world, that we are going to get our funds soon. To show you how low I have gone to seek publicity and to try to get help for our project, Universal Studios has bought my book for huge sums of money, and they are now making an A film, which means a superstar film. To give you the sense of scale, the first writer that wrote the first 2 drafts of the script was given $500,000, more than 3 times my larger donation for 3 months of work. And we liked the humor part of his script, but we didn't feel as if it touched on what our philosophy is, and blessed the producer's heart that they didn't just want something funny. So they've just shelled out $1 million to get the writer that wrote the movie Forrest Gump. And I think we know Hollywood enough to know that if this movie is made, we will have our hospital. Not because Universal will give it to us, but because of how America and the world loves La La. So let's talk. I think in a way that's an update. Where we are really with an update is that our own networking and outreach is gigantic. That every single month, a huge part of the world's healthcare in some way starts connecting up with us. So in September, I went to a gathering of 500 herbal doctors in this country, and pretty much as the only keynote speaker there, connected up with the entire body of herbal medicine in this country. All of them who totally love our work. That we spend our time connecting up and making and doing where we can. Right now, probably what we do is we inspire with our persistence, and we encourage, and I think people even came here saying that that's what they might hope to gain out of this evening. It is a thrilling experience. It is a frustrating experience, but following dreams is as big a high as I've experienced, and I've done a lot of experimenting. So let's go. Let's dive in. Where do you want to go? Yes, sir.
Yeah. What do you think about Deepak Chopra?
What do I think of Deepak Chopra? Are you looking for a personal what I can say about him by meeting him and speaking with him, or about ideas of?
His ideas, how he's addressing the public, and what's your perspective
I think, one, I can start, Deepak started as a straight doctor. You know, he was in Boston, endocrinologist. So he had good credentials. Complementary medicine has needed good credentials to help allopathic medicine, except allopathic medicine is what an MD does, to help allopathic medicine open the door, because they're not going to listen to non-allopathic physicians. And so Deepak is one of the important people there. People like Bernie Siegel, people like Larry Dossey, people like Dean Ornish. These are all people who are opening the door to this complementary medicine in one way. At times I feel Deepak says some irresponsible things. I think all of us say some irresponsible things, so that's to be forgiven. I'm a little concerned with the commercialism that feels around Deepak, but I understand in my own organization that things start happening and you need to support a thing, and so that expands. We've been very leery of that ourselves. I have a book. If you go to the land, you can get a t-shirt. If If you work hard, we don't push them very much. But outside of that, it's been very uncomfortable for us to have a product. DPAC has an overwhelming product base, and that frightens me a little bit. I wonder how much apart from something. So I haven't seen him and spoken with him in the last 3 or 4 years. So I think he's doing a great thing. People are reading his book, and they're taking from those books what they want, and they're starting to feel. I mean, who knows why the government all of a sudden started to have a branch dealing with complementary medicine. And this is part of it. So I think, again, the only thing that concerns me at all, and I'm sure it doesn't surprise you, is commercialism. And I haven't been with him in the last 3 years to really try to understand where that turn came, and if the money he's making is going into his pocket, and is he looking really fat and sassy, or is this money being turned into service in some way? I do have my own judgments about that. If it's going into making himself wealthy, I'm concerned about that. Because you will start writing things with that knowledge on your mind. Yes?
What in your opinion is to prevent the complementary medicines like herbs and other such things from being caught up in the loop of the big pharmaceutical companies? As we saw after the Civil War, much of the medical research that was done in the South, as limited as it was destroyed by the patent medicine companies in their drive. Like, what do you think of the heirs companies and the private funds for this area alone?
Would people like me to repeat the question?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. The question was, something to do with what is the impact of complementary medicine getting in mainstream? How is that going to impact complementary medicine? Is that
the question? Was how is the complementary medicines? What's to prevent the complementary medicines from becoming integrated into the big pharmaceutical companies and thus controlled in the manner that other pharmaceuticals are now controlled?
Right.
We look at a time period, 1861, 1865, during the Civil War. The South did a lot of alternative research in medicine. Because of the war came the inability to get medicine as it was, and it was destroyed by Northern pharmaceuticals or patent medicine manufacturers after the war to keep their industry alive.
I mean, I put pharmaceutical companies in the evil category, ladies and gentlemen. You know, a good capitalist company feels good about a 4% profit margin. The top pharmaceutical companies' profit margin are 25%. And that's just the tip. They control medical research to a gigantic, if not whole degree. They are evil companies. Unfortunately, for me, this question that you asked is something that has concerned me about complementary medicine, that over the 25 years that I've been involved in it, that it has gotten much greedier, prices have gotten a lot higher. There also has been a certain amount of that arrogance that came along with it, the power interests, when a healer sees the desperation of a patient to be healed, and the desperation to relieve suffering, and the overwhelming praise when some suffering is released, a lot of complicated things go on. When one sees that somebody can make a huge amount of money from something, it's easy to rationalize it, because if you're also saving a life or doing good, you can say, well, I saved a life, what's a couple of $1,000s? There's no question that I think we all know the pharmaceutical companies are doing a lot about, they're sending a lot of people to the rainforest. They are investigating herbs big time, because certainly a lot of our early medicine from digitalis, etc., aspirin came from plants. So when you say how, I don't see greed, the lust for greed and power changing soon. I certainly want it to change tonight, but I don't see it changing soon, and their ugly claws are already in there. And the seduction of it is overwhelming. I was at the pharmacy school, and just hearing how the pharmacy students talk about where they can go, and there are also students not in the pharmacy part, but in the part doing the biomedical research for these things, and the direction, and who funds these things. You look behind the scenes, pharmaceutical companies are there in such a great degree. So, and the seduction of money is great. Almost everyone succumbs to it in this country to some degree. Almost everybody in this country has more than they need of stuff, of room in their house, etc. So it's scary to me. Home care. 25 years ago, home care was a beautiful, affordable, and intimate thing. Now it's the fastest growing industry in medicine. And I mean industry. Flotation beds costing $25,000. I mean, it's horrifying. When I go to these conferences, I went to a conference, 10,000 people on home care and home care service, and I went to the products department, artificial limbs for $50,000. I mean, the point in greed is you want to charge the absolute maximum you can get. That it's good to the society as an immaterial. In fact, it's evil to the society as immaterial as well. So I suspect that all of those things are happening behind the scenes a lot, and that we'll see it more and more. You wouldn't be unlike me to see pharmaceutical companies buy up huge areas of rainforests for their own selfish ends. Certainly not to save the rainforest. Yes, ma'am. How did I become interested in clowning? Well, I think it's part of a nerd's life. Nerds take one of two bifurcations. One, they do increased nerdidity. 2 book bags instead of 1, 3 book bags instead of 2. Others become class clowns. They have all this free time, they've already done their homework, they're looking around going, what can I do? I was one of those. I was a class clown, which is different than being a clown. A lot of people say, oh, I'm a clown, or they're a clown. It's different than being an intentional character that is a clown. That came for me when I flipped out as a teenager at 18, ended up in a mental hospital, and I decided to take a path towards joy. I decided as a political act, I think it's the most important thing I say in my book, I think the most revolutionary act you can commit in today's society is to be publicly happy. And that if you dare to want to do something for a better world, at least look like you're already there. Dare to offer at least children a vision that somebody is enjoying adulthood, because they're certainly not getting the vision from their personal experience of adulthood. So when I was in the mental hospital from suffering and pain and depression and wanting to die, my nerd mind said, what if I put all this juice into joy? What is the antithesis of wanting to die? A lust for life, a vitality for life. And so I said, well, I will become that. It also was tied up with the sense that I ended up in that hospital from powerlessness, facing the civil rights movement. And I just couldn't understand man's inhumanity to man to the degree and the constantly being beat up that was happening to me. And so I said, how can I make myself a political person? And so I made 2 decisions. One was an individual personal decision to be joy. Publicly. Basically, if you see me publicly, you will see joy. I have for 33 years now. The other decision was to go into medicine, to serve humanity. So, once I decided to be joy, I also bumped into my oldest unrelated friend, and where separately we didn't do it, but together we started at 18 wearing costumes in public. From dresses and wigs, to gorilla costumes, to every time we went to work, we wore these space helmets. And we started to play with life. And quite frankly, once you tie into fun, pump it up. It's I'm a junkie. I'm a junkie for fun. Making people laugh is addicting, and I started wearing costumes, and then I actually started to say, Pat, you're a clown. I'm not a birthday party clown. I don't know any balloon figures, and I don't denigrate them. My clowning is all public. I wear clown clothes. I'm in them now and can cause immense amount of trouble with about a 15-second modification. And once I started doing it significantly, I really rose to the occasion. I love playing with people. And that's how it started. It perpetuated from the joy of doing it. I've never taken a class in it. I've just done it every day for 30 years. And so I literally clown every day. When I get in the car to go grocery shopping, if I'm not with my children, I clown. You can imagine being my child. My 19-year-old has confessed to me the quality of embarrassment I've given him in his life. I have pointed out to him that children of straight parents say the same thing about their parents. But nevertheless, I have embarrassed my children to the max. My 8-year-old, I think, is going to be a clown, and it interests my oldest son that he doesn't seem to be embarrassed by me, which I'm shameful. I'm a bad boy. I'm here to be naughty. So if you're in that way, I try to be kind to my spouse and children because they have to deal with the brunt of me on a regular basis. With everyone else, I try to be merciless. Well, he's dead, but he is working with me. I think a lot of us are working with dead people. Dead Clown Society is... he's been a big donor. He's given us large donations before he died. He really introduced the subject, and people see him as an expert. He really knew very little about it. He used funny movies, which is very far from a funny context. But because of his fame and because of his own clout, he has really helped put it on the map for people like yourself who want to do it more in medicine or to do it more in life and have it not just be somebody being obnoxious. You helping me? What are you saying? In the clown miles? Is there anyone here that is?
Yes, the Alethea Grana clowns are.
The what?
The Alethea Grana clowns.
Alethea?
Alethea Grotto. Clown.
I think as far as medicine, I just ran into a group.
Well, let me just finish that. Did you get that? Where are they? In Worcester?
They're in Worcester.
The Alethea
Grotto
clowns. Check them out. You'll be the first in your neighborhood. I'm simply carrying the torch for clowning, you understand. I didn't start it. I mean, a lot of my clowning is, as I said, most of my clown friends don't do the clowning that I do, which is public improvisation. Yes, you were going to say a medical contact.
Well, the Big Apple has done some training of a group in Stanford Hospital. I believe in Connecticut has the only all-volunteer group of clowns that's part of the hospital, and there's a hospital in Boston that is paid clowns. So I don't know.
There are clown care units growing all over the world. I'm familiar with them in Austria, Denmark, Switzerland, France, Japan. They're growing all over this country. Look out, clowns are invading your life. They may take over your mind. We want to take over your mind. And
can I ask a question? How do you put makeup with that mustache on?
How do I put makeup with a mustache? I'm a clown that doesn't use makeup. Never used makeup.
Okay.
It too much time, and I wanted to be able to rub my body all over other people, and with makeup you can't do that. Somebody else? Yes. Can I do something funny like a clown? How cute. Well, I told you that in 15 seconds I can change myself into a troubling soul. So I will do that. How about that?
Any questions? Anything you ever want to ask a fool? It's a good thing. I don't know anything.
And you understand, I'm working with a person now who are putting my clown character and himself up on the stage. But my clowning is not here for you to sit. My clowning, I go to the mall and cause so much trouble with that guy you just saw, you cannot imagine. God help you if you're in a restaurant. I do very bad things to people for fun. He is fearless. Yes. Have a fireman's pole. It's a kind of thing, yes, you're exactly right. And fireman's pole actually are on the list of stuff that we do want. It's in there. I mean, it's a natural. Certainly. I mean, that's why we're saying secret passageways with slides. We're going to have rooms, you know, with those portraits where the eyes move aside, so you can just eavesdrop on people. We are going to be extremely bad for our pleasure and for your pleasure as a patient. We are fun to die with. Yes.
Do you have a waiting list for patients to get in?
Do we have a waiting list for patients to get in? I wish we had a hospital for a waiting list. Right now, we are not seeing patients in the way that we saw patients. I mean, I do a lot of patient care through caring and through after-conference talks or in the phone or in the mail in that way. I do a tremendous, huge amount of that. But to me, what I call practicing medicine is when I have a home with a lot of healers and I say, why don't you come by and bring your family and stay for a week? I don't have that now. I'm desperately seeking it. When we have it, you're welcome. Our last active year with no publicity, we saw people from 40 states and 18 countries. Yes, that's...
How do you personally maintain this sense of joy, and then how do you recommend to others who have like a 9-to-5 sort of schedule, they maintain it? Because sometimes I start my day thinking, okay, I'm going to be positive, and today's going to be great, and what can I learn, and what happiness can I bring people today? But then by noon, I'm, another working sludge in front of my computer.
How to maintain. The question was how to maintain a sense of joy. This is the kind of stuff we're going to explore. I think it's certainly a thread I like to weave through the conversations of these all-night things, is how really to live a life of joy. One, get out of your head that it's a struggle. See, in the pain paradigm, which is what I call our society has lived for thousands of years, is that we celebrate pain. You all love pain and suffering. You're going to fight and keep your pain and suffering to the end of your day. Yeah, imagine in a joy paradigm what life might be like. Where what your life was is that your life always started from a baseline of a static life. You actually were feeling the privilege of life, the miracle of life every single second. You cannot believe that at this moment, in this universe, you exist. See, we don't have any education to let you know that you are as great a miracle as ever existed. You get no sense of yourself as that miracle. Our adult population is probably less than 3% of them have self-esteem. It's so significant in your life to live your life, to live the life you want. I can't impress upon you enough the importance of you being able to look in the mirror and go, oh, yes! Oh, come on. I in no way mean in an egotistical or a narcissistic way. I am saying that you delight yourself. Is that asking too much? Really? But isn't it interesting that as an adult, it's practically not considered by any adult? In those 4-hour initial interviews with patients, it's nothing for them to give me 4 hours of uninterrupted Shakespearean pain, obviously rehearsed, the 50th time they've told it to somebody. When I then go and say, fine, you've given me 4 hours of hell, now tell me something about the joy in your life. You know, in 20,000 people, almost never has anyone been able to talk for 10 minutes. It's sputtering and going, well, do you mean a party? Yeah, I mean a party. So when you talk about maintaining a sense of joy, the implication is that you never start with joy. You work pursuit of happiness. Yes, pursuit of happiness, implying, of course, it's a pursuit, not something that you will arrive at. Oh, this hurts me so much. It hurts me so much. I hate Prozac. I hate Prozac. I hate the idea that when that prescription, I'll tell you, when I was a doctor, was told to give, at the time, Librium or Valium, which was yesterday's Prozac candy. Single mother comes in, she has 3 kids. The jerk father has not only sends no money, but much more importantly, never gives any time for that. The great heroes of our society are the single parents, mostly the single mothers. They stand so head and shoulders above rock stars and movie stars and baseball stars who are mere entertainments, so overpaid it is an embarrassment to nature. This woman comes to me with 3 children, and she gives me a list of complaints, a list of signs and symptoms about her suffering. I was taught in medical school to call her sick, to imply that she was sick, that she needed me and she needed my medicine to make her feel better. At Gesundheit, we got out the brass band and marched them around as queen for a day, as the great hero in today for us, that she dare take the most difficult task in the world, head and shoulders above every task that ever else happened in the planet, the raising of children, and dare to do it by themselves. Joy, how to maintain the joy. How does anyone ever lose it? Wordsworth, in his great poem, Intimations of Immortality, it's a poem about middle age. There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth and every common sight to me did seem apparelled with celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream. Oh, it is not now as it had been of yore, turn wheresoe'er I may. The things that I have seen, I now can see no more. Later in the poem it says, why with such earnest pains dost thou provoke the years to bring the inevitable yoke? He's talking about why is it that children and teenagers so lustfully seek this sad, anxious, nervous adult world? Why do they so much want to give up their freedoms? How is it that an adult can actually come to the conclusion that they're having a bad day? What is it about life? The lost set of keys? The flat tire? Something somebody did to you 20 years ago? We love pain and suffering so much, the entire news service of the world, there is not one daily newspaper devoted to joy. Not one. It's because you wouldn't buy it. You can't take a conversation about joy. You know what's key in a college setting? What's the most clever thing that happens in a college setting is a clever, cynical statement. That is like the gold medal for the college person. I hate cynicism. I hate whining. I consider cynicism intellectual whining. But there's no reward for being enthusiastic, idealistic. These are criticisms. You're idealistic, which immediately implies unrealistic. We love pain and suffering. We love pain and suffering. We're looking for a good day. I'm looking for a world where it might be interesting to have a bad day. Where somebody actually reads in a book that, you know, people used to suffer. Well, what was that like? Well, like they would go around bitching and moaning about their day. And people would say, you mean even on a sunny day? Yeah, on a sunny day. Holy schmoly! Wake up, people! You have got 75 years, give or take 75 years. You have got 75 years. This is your chance. Even with reincarnation, this is this chance. And I'm sorry for whatever happened to you. I'm sorry for what your dad did to you. I'm sorry what your government did to you. I'm sorry about what you did to you. But is there a single, if we added up all the suffering in the world, does it match the miracle of life? Is there a suffering? You know, at Ground Zero in Hiroshima, bamboo grew up thriving and succulent in less than 2 days. That a spider could jump from a leaf and decide 8 different kinds of biochemistry for its silk thread that comes out of its butt. And it comes out liquid. It comes out liquid. And biochemistry say, do I want like that? What tensile strength do I want? I mean, how much of the miracle do you have to look at before awe becomes just a little bit of your life? How is it? I mean, we can spend nothing. It's nothing to spend all day long going, oh, he doesn't love me. Oh, he doesn't love me. I am scum. She doesn't love me. I am scum. The dog doesn't love me, I am scum, whatever it is. Whatever thing that isn't happening to you that is making you ignore your day. You know what you have to do on a day you're having a bad day? You have to deny your friends. You can't walk around with that horrible day and be walking around with, oh, Jay, Billy. Oh. In order to have a bad day, you must knock out everything that you ever did with nature, everything you ever did with art and music, because otherwise it's going to cloud up your bad day. You can't have like a really good bummer and be ecstatic over John. Just not possible. Why do we focus on the bummers? What is it about a bummer that is so intoxicating? I'll tell you what it is. You don't have any examples in your life of really adults that are ecstatic. So you don't know the image. You don't know actually what it is, an ecstatic life. There's no vision for it. It's even derogatory. You're not happy. You say, Pat, you're not happy. It's just a front. Hey, so what? So what if it were? Maybe I could say your pain is a front. I'm saying this not so much to you. This is the most important question asked tonight. Why blow life? Why? Here's a tiny little poem by E.E. Cummings. Tiny. It's that initial crumb I'll offer you in poetry. Plant, magic, dust. Expect hope, doubt, wonder, mistrust, despair, and right where soulless hour with all their minds' eyes blindly stare, life herself stands. You are making your bad days. Every single day you have that's a bad day you're making. It's not to lay a trick on you, say, oh God, oh, I'm even more fucked up because I'm laying a trip on myself. That's not the point of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just, why focus on it? Is there not anything in your life more fun to focus on than your bummer? What is it that makes that bummer so fun to focus on? Shakespeare said in Othello, when remedies are past, the grieves are ended by seeing the worst which late on hope depended. To mourn a mischief that is past and gone is next way to draw new mischief on. What cannot be perceived when fortune takes patience or injury a mockery makes. The robbed who smiles steals something from the thief. He robs himself who spends a bootless grief. That phrase, to mourn a mischief that is past and gone, is next way to draw new mischief on. So whatever in your past you're harping on, what is it doing? It's giving you another bummer today, in the present. However bad it was, it's not today. So how do I keep it up? It's up already. Life, I'm so thankful to be alive, partly because I was very sick as a teenager and I came back, partly because I'm actually have spent 32 years really focused on the miracle of life. Just how astounding nature is. I take 9 nature magazines, and when I read that a person has studied the gnat for 35 years, I read that article. You know, those of you who like Charles Darwin, you know he wrote more books on the barnacle. Does that mean it was more important than evolution? Makes you kind of wonder what's in a barnacle, doesn't it? 5 books on the barnacle. You know, and music. What about music? Within any form, let's just say you only liked one narrow form of music, and you didn't like all music. Within that narrow form are millions of musics. That's what I'm saying. I beg you, if you want a better world, dare to find joy in your life. Dare to act the better world now. Am I making any sense to you? And so what I do is, I wake up going, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm 50 years old, I'm healthy. That's a pretty big thank you. Because I know a lot of my classmates that aren't. Thank you for this. I mean, imagine if everyone in the world got this much respect and interest today. You love me. See, I'm not afraid to say it. You love me. Maybe some of you don't, but most of you here in this room, love me. I'm going to choose to feel it. I'm not going to go, well, I mean, not love like I love my best friend. You never have to do anything for me, by the way. And I'm not really doing that much for you. And yet you're loving me. So I'm going to feel it. I'm going to feel the respect. So if anyone during the course of the day shines their eyes at me, I'm going to go, thank you. And nature is always there. This is human nature. I always love it when people say, I've got to leave the city and get back to nature. We are nature. The city is the most concentrated thing of the thing you value the most. Let me ask you, how many people think they have something in their life more important than their friends? Yes, what is it? No, not you. There's somebody behind you. Raise your hand. What's more important to you than your friends? Yourself. So the friendship with yourself. All right? That's an important friendship, right? Since I was saying how important self-esteem is, the friendship with yourself is absolutely essential. Yes, and you? Let's face it, even if they had a good reason, let's say they do, how insignificant relative to this number of people. And it's the same with audiences all over the world. Almost no one ever raises their hand. The most important thing in our life are our friends. That's humans, us. So in actual fact, a city is where we most are. The things you treasure the most. The thing that, interestingly enough, because of our lack of skills in the pain paradigm to rub two human beings together, we need to get away from the thing we love the most to try to get back together. It's also interesting to me. It's not philosophical with me, you know. Unfortunately, every single day, all day long, I hear human pain. So I'm trying. Let's just say that was the reason I'm joyful every day, because every time I hear a story, I go, "Ooh, thank God it isn't me." You know, when somebody sits there in that chair, they really convey to you that nobody in their life cares about them. There's a great line in Randall Jarrell's poem, The Woman at the Washington Zoo, very potent poem about loneliness that says, "The world goes by my cage and never sees me." Think AIDS or cancer is that devastating? Never. Loneliness is the most devastating disease a doctor will ever see. Am I wrong, doctor? No. Yeah, it's devastating. There's no disease that even touches it, which is why I want to go all night with you on it, so that you will know that at least you have the skill that within a half an hour you will have that thing you love the most. Yo.
The last few moments you talked about the joy of living, the miracle of life, the beauty of life, the magic of living, raising children is the greatest task by society. What's your attitude toward abortion?
Abortion? You always take the hot seat. I am pro-choice. I'll tell you where I first became pro-choice. In the late 50s and early 60s, I used to go get the phone call that says, from the coat hanger abortionists, and the people that were bleeding internally from that. That was my first introduction. When rich people called them D&Cs, and poor people for illegal abortions. You all knew that, right? When abortions were illegal, rich people always got D&Cs. Always got them. Always got them. They wanted an abortion, they went to a doctor, they had money, they got a D&C. Poor people got coat hanger abortions. Okay, so that's one reason I'm pro-choice. Even more to home than that are the children I have picked out of garbage cans. Literally. And I'll grant you that abortion is killing. We are killing life. It is true. I am saying that the killing of a life of an unwanted child is a far more devastating death from my experience. Ever since my teen years, I have written. Every time I see in a newspaper, I'm on death row, please write me. I've written, so I have a large series in 32 years. A large series. Every single one of those people were unwanted children. They all became murderers. I was a wanted child. I will never be a murderer. I remember the child brought into me in the emergency room. His father had stuck his feet, his little 19-month-old feet, in boiling water up to the knees because he did a duty in his diaper. And he was supposed to have been toilet trained. That's an unwanted child. So I'm just saying that the D&C for me is just a value judgment for me. I also don't know a single woman that I'm close to that would ever talk to me again if I wasn't pro-choice. My wife included. And I'm not about to give up all the women I love for that. Okay, unfortunately I grew up in a society and a culture where all of them ended up pro-choice. Had I grown up in another one, I could be somewhere else. And I totally understand. And if indeed you feel abortion is killing a child and that killing is less painful than the slow killing of an unwanted child, particularly if you're willing to take all those unwanted children into your house, then I understand. And I says if you don't want an abortion, don't have one. It's a very controversial subject. I mean, I might as well cover the other one. I have assisted people in dying. I have pacts with thousands of people and their families. Each one of them is a different pact. Any other controversial? I'm happy to discuss any of these things. I understand that these are very emotional issues. I cannot afford to be wishy-washy about these issues. Yes, ma'am. How would I propose to cure a person who likes to sexually abuse children? I'm sure it will not surprise you that what I want to do is change a society so that nobody that grows up in that society. That is the only way I can truly do that on a wide basis. Is I want to stop a society where that's even one of the options. I want to create another kind of way for humans to be so that your love needs are met in ways that aren't so damaging. Once you have become such a person, if you don't want to change, I don't have any idea how to change you. If you don't want to change and yet are in my sphere, and I know you are one and don't want to change, you will get me in your face in whatever way I think most effective to have you possibly consider not doing it. If you do want to change, I will always believe and work towards change in whatever way I think is unique and individual to you. For a huge number of people that I've met that do that, they need a kind of person like me loving them in their life. An extremely intentional, intimate friend. And so, you know, I think we've got a lot of hidden messages in our advertising and other things that are going on that do encourage things. How much they encourage things, I don't think we can know. But with the evils of our society, when you say, what can we do about people who like to kill people or like to harm people? I mean, huge numbers of men love to smash their spouse. In West Virginia, it's almost the rule. We aren't going to kill them. We just try. I mean, what I try to do with men that hit women or men that do things, in many cases it is men, is I really try to offer them a kind of intimacy and friendship that they've never experienced in their life. To stay with them. If they actually came into our hospital, I would spend huge amounts of hours with them. Ideally with the goal of having us melt in each other's arms for care and for forgiveness and for moving on. Yes?
I just want to offer a metaphor I use sometimes. Oh, I get the mic?
If you're going to offer a metaphor.
Okay. Should I stand up?
No, get on.
A couple things. Whenever I talk about disease, there's a metaphor I've used because I also want the broader picture.
To the mic.
You want the big picture, but you also, but what about this one patient that walks in? And for any illness, any disease, I use the metaphor, you've got to punch people on a cliff. And they're just heading toward the edge, and they're falling off. Okay? So some are at the top, some are on the way down, some have hit bottom. What most medicine does is, it spends all this money for ambulances and puts it at the bottom, and just waits for people to hit. And then they say, why does it cost so much, and what do we do now? But they're already on the way down. What I think you try to do, and what I hope medicine does is, you know, why don't we spend all the money up here and say, what are you guys doing near the cliff? Maybe we can get you to stand over here. But even if you did that, even if you had the policy that's going to start preventing it, you've already got some people that fell off the cliff. You've already got some people that are going to hit. So the same treatment doesn't affect everybody. You've already lost a few people that are on the way down. You can do that with heart disease. It's better to exercise and eat right up here versus the people who've already got their arteries kind of filled up and they've already got heart failure. There's only so much you can do when you're already on your way down. The emphasis should be way up here, way up at the top. That's kind of the global picture. And you're right. It gets harder when it's an individual person coming in and saying, what do you do for that person? Maybe that person needs to be away from society. You know, you can't just say they'll do better. And maybe spending some time with somebody who's going to show them a lot of care is going to make a difference. But a lot of it is they got to want to.
Thank you. Jamie knows that we have another half hour of intensity. Yes, ma'am.
Can you project your voice?
Can you be specific, please? What do you do about the person? What do we do for the person trying to heal from sexual abuse? I don't have a generic thing to offer anybody. I mean, in my harshest tough love sense, I say, why are you hanging on to it? That's what I said in the quote from Othello. To mourn a mischief that is past and gone is next way to draw new mischief on. I'm sorry what your dad did to you, or your uncle, or your brother, or your next door neighbor. I'm sorry. But if you're suffering today from it, you're just letting it happen over and over and over and over. Maybe if we didn't put so much emphasis on working through it, just in living life fully today for whatever has happened to you. I mean, all of us have some bummer we could hold on to, right? Anyone here not have any bummer they could hold on to if they wanted to? I mean, it could just be spilled milk. So I'm going to choose not. So my tough love is that. Almost no one likes that one, okay? Get off your ass and love life. Almost no one wants that approach. It's my most honest approach. If it's a delicate situation and they want to hold on to the pain and work through it, I try to find out what they actually want. A lot of times they'd like a better relationship with their husband, a greater sexuality, or something along that nature. So a lot of, with almost any patient suffering from anything, my deepest question is, what do you want? And is the thing you want something you can make happen? If you want Sally to love you and she doesn't, you know, be into pain. You know, get some Hank Williams and do it. Born to lose, I've lived my life in pain. Every dream, wallow. I know it sounds harsh, but it hurts me so to see a beautiful person suffer for yesterday. Are they abusing you today? If not, and they can't abuse you anymore, maybe they're dead. What I would suggest is forgive them and understand nobody does that unless they're very sick. Ultimately, forgive them so that it just washes, you know. And then put the rest of your life to an effort to make a society where personal violence to another is just not possible. The greatest therapy, as far as I'm concerned, is you work for a society and make yourself into a non-violent person. A non-hating person. A person that will ask for a favor, not take it. So, but most people do not want the tough love approach. They do not want the honest answer. They want some kind of catharsis for some of them. And so, whether it's primal scream, or if they want rebirthing, or there's a whole smorgasbord of things to offer for that catharsis. Those kind of catharsis can happen this evening. with a group of people being intimate in a safe setting and just talking it out one time in front of a lot of people and really getting it out and sobbing. For some people, that's it. Beware of how much you like it. Beware of how much it gives you to suffer. If indeed you grow up in a society where celebration of life is not part of life, and suffering and the celebration of suffering is, it makes sense to hold on to pain. At least you know you are feeling. So, I mean, there's a great novel this century by Camus, The Stranger, and one of the big questions in this book is why this man shot a person when the first bullet killed him. Why did they fill him full of bullets? And I think good existentialist Camus was, and you may or may not agree with this assessment, but was that to prove that he was alive, he did it. So beware of how much you like your suffering. There is a huge amount of liking of suffering because it is feeling. If you don't know the feeling of joy, of ecstasy, of vitality, I'll tell you, feeling beats blame. Feeling beats dull. I have a far easier time with a patient that feels anything than a patient that feels nothing. So that's a start. What I can do, with Gesundheit, what I can do is I can show them that now, however much they can say they suffer all the time. So immediately, obviously, what I do is I bring them into Gesundheit, I watch them, and I say, you mean right now? While they're playing volleyball and really enjoying themselves. I say, right now? Or they're eating the food, they're really enjoying the conversation, you mean right now? So dare to tell me you're suffering all the time or in pain all the time if you don't want me watching. At least drop always. I'm always suffering. I never. Stop making it a superlative to suffer. And then I would just use all the other techniques and say, what is it? What I try to do is I try to meet anyone who's ever kicked it. And I say, what worked for you? And I collect that and say, okay, this helped one person. Would you like their phone number? And if you were helped and you got out of it, would you talk to this person? So tie people with breast cancer together and parents of kids with cystic fibrosis together. Basically, kill confidentiality. I hate confidentiality. It's another way to be lonely. No support group is based on confidentiality. Let me just see, somebody else that has not raised. Let's give just a moment for people that have raised their hand. Let's give a moment for people who haven't. Because some people are slow hand raisers. Is this a semi-hand? Some people are short hand raisers. All right.
Even though you said you object to the insurance company industry or institution, since it does exist, do you think they should start supporting the alternative medicines and have those covered?
Do I think insurance companies should cover alternative medicine? I think insurance companies should close down. I think we should recreate community, and that when your house burns down, your neighbors rebuild your house. Then you will feel connected to those people. If you ever saw the movie Witness, where you saw the Amish people build a barn that it would take many skilled laborers all summer to build, they build it in one day. They actually do that. That wasn't TV or movie. They actually build it in one day because they've learned to work together. So, insurance companies. I have such a bad feeling about insurance companies. I don't know that I can ever express a context where I feel good about an insurance company. It all says, look, when you can't count on your friends anymore, and you can't count on your community anymore, and you can't count on your society anymore, hire a company that doesn't care about you to care about you. So that's what I feel about. Do I think they should? If you're going to have insurance companies for health, and you want to be covered for health, yes, they should cover everything. No question about it. But they're only going to cover it if they profit from covering it. They will never cover it except for profit. There's A new person raising their hand. I wouldn't prescribe Prozac to her. One of the things we did when we were open, we said, anytime you need a break from your children, drop them off. That's what you need. You know, just assume, no matter how together the super mom is, every single people with mom and dad, happily married, with kids, and with the community need breaks from their kids. Okay? So every time you see a single parent, you want to do something for the society, take the kids for a weekend, at least every third month. That's what first thing, give them a break. And if you don't know that they need one, you haven't done primary care of children by yourself. If you don't know that they need a break, then take the kids for a weekend and imagine that she has them for the 363 other days. By herself. She needs a break. Kids need a break from her too. And if they're with the mom, they need some male input. Who is it? It takes a community to raise a family or to raise a child. It's something from the East. What? It takes a village to raise a child. Isn't that from China or something? Africa. It takes a village to raise a child. And that's not an exaggeration, ladies and gentlemen. It is a truth. If you could have seen the children that I clowned for this afternoon at Mustard Seed, you would know that it takes a village to raise a child. And we need, every single mother, one, needs to be given a Medal of Honor as the greatest hero this nation has. The greatest heroes of this nation are the single mothers. And give them vacations, give them breaks. What I tell my audience is I say, please, if you have an extra room in your house and can afford it, take in a single mother and not charge them. Serve your society. Almost everyone with a house has extra rooms. Some people have so many extra rooms it looks like a motel, and they live there by themselves. Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure how I could rephrase the question. How do I change the mindset? One, you do not believe in powerlessness ever again. You believe in relentless, joyful effort. Not with the expectation that you're going to change, but with the knowledge that at least in you are going to do the effort. One of the things that chases away and why there are so few social change artists is that they want results. You can't tackle the windmills and want results. You tackle the windmills for the joy of the quest. Dream the impossible dream, right the unrightable wrong, to be willing to march into hell for that heavenly cause. It is a high. It is an unbelievable high to have a quest. This is my quest to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or foe, to be willing to march into hell for that heavenly cause. The number of times I wrote in my journal a goodbye note to my family because I thought one of my patients was going to kill me is greater than 10. And I could say that we're only going to accept patients in our home that aren't going to possibly kill us. I didn't want to alarm my family, so I wrote them a goodbye note in my journal. So far it hasn't happened. You want something. I want a hospital Pretty much for 25 years, everyone has laughed at this hospital. People on the left, people on the right. We are the only model in this country addressing the problems of care delivery. I need $15 million. I have $7,000 in my building fund. After 25 years, working 80 hours a day, non-stop. Last year, I had my first real vacation in 10 years, because for me, all life is a vacation. Don't particularly groove on vacations. I just want to help. So you just keep trying. Find a good language. You wouldn't be listening to me at all if I wasn't performing. Become articulate. Become the mover and the shaker. Almost everyone who became a great mover and shaker in history never took a class in performance or elocution or rhetoric. They simply, through their passion and persistence, made it happen, or at least worked to make it happen. And realize that the end product isn't the thing that you go, oh, I've got to have the hospital, I've got to have the hospital, I've got to have the hospital. It's I've got to try to do my best to be the most effective I can be in the areas of my interest. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the lessee. As well as if a promontory were, as well as if the manner of thy friends or of thine own were, for every man's death. Every man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in humanity. Therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. Tolls for thee. If you want vitality, work. If you want to feel the thrill of life through your veins, then devote yourself to something. I would suggest you devote yourself to something good. What's interesting to me is that you get the same vitality if you devote yourself to something evil. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think is evil?
What do I think is evil?
Is it
Well,
opposite to good? Is it like sport?
Oh, I don't know really. What I think is evil is that half of our population, the women in the world, are imprisoned in their homes, unable to walk free. That's evil. I at least want a world where every man, woman, and child can walk day or night with whatever they have on their mind, completely free of any thought that anything bad might ever happen to them. Do you want more senses of evil? I mean, you can imagine. And I try to keep the evils down to a minimum. I think greed is evil. Lust for power. I think the idea that we admire Bill Gates for being a 15 billionaire is evil. The intended messages, to think that he's something admirable by having $15 billion is shameful in our entire world. I'm not sure there's anything more shameful. The idea that it's admirable that a baseball player gets a $5 million contract is an embarrassment to the human community. What does it say to a school teacher? Our whole message to our children is, you should admire Bill Gates, the 15 billionaire, because there's no place in the paper for the woman in the ghetto who takes not only her children without a husband and tries to raise them, but all the other children in the block. Where's she? That's evil. This idea that somehow goals in life have anything to do with money or power. That's evil. We could go on. I don't know that you want me to get any more intense than I have.
We're swimming in it then.
Yes, we are swimming in it, and I am here to say, if you don't take charge of yourself, you will be swimming in it. You will admire Rolex watches and Porsches more than you admire a lended hand. If you don't watch out. what you will want for yourself will be in the area of things. If you don't watch out, you'll actually find a rationalization not to spend a significant portion of your time to make this world a better place. That's evil. Your rationalization not to devote yourself to your human community. You can get a sense of it. I'm laying a trip on every one of you, aren't I? I'm here to irritate and to stimulate. It doesn't matter to me which I do. Let's just see, let's let the non-hand raisers, yes, go ahead.
How do you view the role of technology in modern healthcare, and how would your hospital address patients' expectation to see all the latest gadgets and
how do I see the rights of technology in modern healthcare, and
how will your hospital address it?
How will our hospital address it? Very complicated question with not a clear answer for me. The way people are discussing the money pie is that there is a limited amount of money in the money pie. They're jamming that down our throats, even though they jam $100 million advertising contracts to people who sing songs and dance nicely. All right? If we have a money pie, and we only have so much money, would you like everyone that needs low-income housing to have low-income housing? If the choice was low-income housing or MRI machines, who wants MRIs? I love MRIs. Outside of the social political context, an MRI is as fantastic as anything that's ever existed. An MRI, to actually imagine, if somebody said 50 years ago that an MRI existed, no one would have believed it. It's the most expensive piece of equipment now to check you out. The building you build to put the machine is millions of dollars. But it can take your body and slice and dice it without having to slice and dice it. See, my problem is that, yes, I understand, the newspapers puts the picture of the kid that needs the heart, liver, lung, kidney, gut, skin transplant, and puts it up in front of you and says, this kid needs this and needs $400,000. And you love that kid. I love that kid. We can't afford it. We either need to give that thing that child needs, that liver, lung transplant, as a gift for our pleasure, or we need not to do it until we have covered violence. Where I come from in Washington, D.C., 10-year-olds carry semi-automatic weapons to school. Stopping that is more important. See, it's this problem of the pie and money and what it goes to that is so unusual to me. All you that watch MTV, you know what one of those dumb little uncreative, stupid MTV music videos cost to make? You can make enough low-income housing for 8 to 10 families for one of those stupid little uncreative embarrassments to the history of creativity. Hey, I like rock music. I exercise an hour and a half a day, so that if we started rock music right now, I could dance 5 or 6 hours, dance most of you into the floor. I love rock and roll music. I don't think a single one of them is worth any of their salaries. So with the technology thing, I mean, our hospital will do the technology thing. X-ray, how far it'll go. We're a rural community hospital, so we will be on the low scale of technology. I would give up all of our technology for 10 years I'd give up all of our technology for 50 years to rid our world of violence. I'd rid ourselves of the entire entertainment industry for 50 years and make us go back to storytelling and acoustical music in order to get rid of violence. I tried to organize the doctors, and still would love to do it, although it was a lot easier when Russia was the enemy. I tried to get all doctors to say, we will not leave the lawn front of the White House until you totally disarm our nuclear arsenal unilaterally. See, it would happen. See, doctors could have that cloud. I would like every single doctor in this country just to go to the front lawn of the White House and make certain demands on the health of our society and to say, we're not going to touch your hospitals or your clinics and see a single patient until you do this. So you can see I'm willing to give up a few lives for that, for nonviolence. I also feel for that child that needs the liver transplant. But we've made it too expensive. We've given you the cute picture of the child and played on all of your cute child pictures and the gruesome color of a child that needs a new liver. And your heart pours out, never questioning the $400,000 bill it's going to cost. And the fact that what would it cost if it were a total service to the society? $1,000? Maybe. I'd give $1,000 for that kid's liver. I cannot rationalize $400,000 for the liver. I think for my own child as well. What this physician was telling me is that you understand bypass surgery. Let's take bypass surgery. In the medical literature, there is not sound reasoning for over 2/3 of bypass surgeries that occur. They talk you into it because you're seduced by the love of surgery. Your sense of the surgeon is the pinnacle of the medical plateau. And so, even though straight medicine has published Dean Ornish's work, Dean Ornish has shown that through diet, exercise, meditation, etc., you not only stop the coronary heart disease, you start to revascularize the heart. And his program in an expensive hospital costs $2,000 or $3,000, and the bypass surgery is $60,000. And we always go for the bypass surgery. The greed is unbelievable. And it's all across the board with every single disease, the greed. Every single disease, the bill, the $1 trillion medical bill of this last year just for allopathic care is a horror. Horror. I love the technology exclusive of the social political context. And I can see it in that light as a fun exercise. If you knew the story of how a drug gets on the market or doesn't get on the market and the really behind the scenes of drug companies, you would see an evil mask that's up there with some of the great evil masks of this century. If you knew that during World War II we selectively ignored bombing IG Farben in Germany because they were the big drug company. I mean, it's so ugly that I try not to, unfortunately I get too near the ugliness. I love the technology. I love it. I love advancement. It's all fascinating to me, even though I'm a technophobe. I've never touched a computer. I hope to die never touching a computer. I barely know on-off of anything. I'm the person the guy in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance criticized to the bone. I am that bone. His criticism didn't help him any. But I stand, it's like magic for me. All this stuff is magic. X-rays alone are magic, but CAT scans, MRIs, whoa, it's staggering what they actually can do. It's just, in the greed context, it's top dollar all the time, top dollar all the time, top dollar. Does a company ever say, fabulous advance, but we can't afford it? No, they play on the cute kid that's sick, or on the pregnant mother, or on some reason that you're going to say, yeah, we need the best money can buy. Just out of curiosity, if it actually would get rid of violence forever, would you give up everything we know as modern entertainment for 50 years, meaning the rest of your life? Raise your hand, just out of curiosity. It would end violence as we know it. What I told a group of 2,000 CEOs of hospitals and doctors at a big conference, December I think it was. The conference, I was the keynote speaker. The conference was Building Healthier Communities, advertisement crap. Okay? They want you to see that hospitals are looking at building healthier communities. There wasn't a single lecture about it. And I stood up there when my turn came. And I said, you want to build healthier communities? I know what your salaries are. Would you be willing to give up the next 10 years' vacations and all the money you would spend on that vacation and 2 weekends a month and at least one night during the week to have that healthier community? There was some cool silence in the room. What are you willing to do for it? See, it's too many confusions for me. I want to say yes to the technology, but I can't. Or I can't say yes or no. I'm confused, and you're hearing my confusion because, you know, people take pleasure in putting cigarettes out on kids. It's not one hospitalization a year. It's many, 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 many. This has to stop. We have got to rebuild community. We have got to walk our streets safe. We have got to get rid of guns. We've got to get rid of a concept that wealth is an admirable thing and not an insult to human community. Let me just give you an idea, okay, what I mean. It doesn't mean, I'm not talking loincloths. I don't want you to run out, give up everything, and live in an old car. Where I come from, let's take a 200-unit high-rise building. Where we'll round it off so the math is easier. $1,000 a month rent for those 200 people to live anonymously in that high-rise building. Each of them having their own TV sets, probably at least 2. Each of them having repeating stuff in each apartment of the person's stuff in the next room. What people don't know is they pay $100 a month rent for that apartment building, but if they all bought the apartment building, their mortgage would be about $500 a month. So for half their rent, they own the building. Now, let's say they take the top third of the building and make sleeping quarters out of it. In that top third, we have sleeping quarters. That's where you go to sleep. You don't need the Holiday Inn with all that fake art and fake fluff for $200 a night. Okay, so the top third is sleeping quarters. Middle third is common space. Oh, swimming pools or TV rooms or bars or whatever that unit likes as its recreation. And also caretaking. That's where, with 200 units of families, you could have no more nursing homes. There would be enough people to care for the children, adults that needed care in that area, the common space. Not in another building that you pay another, however nice they are. I went to one today. It's $180 some a day. Beautiful place. And I understand behind the scenes it's a lovely place to be as an older person. And to work there was lovely. I mean, it had everything great. At $180 some a day. So the middle third is your common space. It's play space. Play space, you can have everything you could imagine in the middle third. And of course, you save a huge amount of money for all the stuff you're paying for in that recreation outside. Your health spa, etc., etc., etc. The bottom third, of course, are your office spaces, and if you're an intelligent group of 200 units, you have plumbers, electricians, doctors, dentists, teachers, incense burners, and all the rest of them. And instead of paying rent or owning another building where you're paying more stuff for more space that half the day is empty, and you don't have to commute and do some more pollute and all the other stuff, and all because you're paying $500 a month for this place you own. Of course, you design into it hanging gardens and greenhouses, so you've got all of that covered. And of course, because you got it together to buy it together, you're all buying your food together, so your food bill is cut in a third. And so what you actually get is 3 dentists, and the one dentist works only 4 months of the year. They don't need any more money than that. And maybe the other 8 months they're doing free dentistry, or they're working in the care of the people in the etc. You see what I'm saying? And I am touching the tip of the community iceberg. Same thing with a hospital, okay? 10,000 families now paying $5,000 a month in their HMO or into their life health insurance policy. $5,000 a month, and you can do it for 30 years, and if you miss a payment and get sick, you're through. There's not an insurance company that cares one rat's ass about you. And you pump all that money, and the HMO's the same way. They'll change your coverage and your doctors at the drop of a hat, and you can do nothing. You are powerless at your $5,000 or $6,000 a month. But you have the $5,000 a month, and let's say you decide to go to the community vote. And I don't mean the Newt Gingrich community vote. He's a word abuser. 10,000 families, $5,000 a month. 3 years, you put it into your community account. I'll do the math for you. $150 million. For $30 million, you build and own outright, because one of the problems with hospitals today is a huge debt. You own, it is paid for, free and clear at $30 million. Mine's $15 million. I'm just doubling it because you may want something nicer. $30 million, you have $120 million left over. Now I have 2,000 doctors and nurses a year applying to work for free in our hospital. All right? So you have $120 million. In this country, you can earn some kind of interest or some kind of safe money that then, of course, pays the salaries and takes care of everybody. So you have a hospital in 3 years that you own, and that, etc. Maybe that hospital will have a food co-op, or maybe it'll have child care center, maybe it'll have, who knows, wellness centers. Maybe it'll have chronic care. It all depends on you, you understand? Maybe that same 10,000 families puts that $5,000 every year into their account, so they have $50 million to take care of themselves for what they need. And let me tell you, the poor medical student right now graduating from medical school, I got it yesterday. I was at Tufts Medical yesterday, and the students are crying, saying, Patch, I want to serve, but I'm going to owe $100,000. $100,000. How can I serve humanity with $100,000 debt on my